You know, about half a billion years ago, nature basically wrote a code. And it's this fundamental blueprint, this master plan that connects every single fish, reptile, bird, and mammal on the planet. And yeah, that includes us. So today, we're going to crack that code wide open.
So, to really get a handle on this, our journey starts in a place that just perfectly captures that sentiment. We're heading to the Bhitarnikana National Park in India. I mean, what a place. It's this incredibly vibrant, thriving ecosystem where all the secrets of this ancient design are just right there on full display. You just have to know how to look for them.
Okay, so I want you to imagine this. You're a student, let's call her Rashamada, and you're up on a watchtower. Down below you, there's this massive 4-meter saltwater crocodile. I mean, it's basically a living dinosaur, just basking on a mudbank. Then you look up, and a sea eagle with a 2-meter wingspan is just soaring effortlessly. And over in the mangroves, a deer is moving so gracefully and silently. These three creatures, they couldn't seem more different, right? They're worlds apart. And that brings us to the big, central question. How in the world can a crocodile, an eagle, and a deer possibly share the exact same blueprint?
Well, the answer is, it's a single design. And it's been so successful, so unbelievably successful, that it's been conserved for over 540 million years. Think about that. It's basically the master key that unlocks the logic behind all this incredible diversity we see. So what do you say? Let's find it.
All right, every good investigation needs a starting point. Our first big clue is what I like to call the basic toolkit. Because, as it turns out, every single vertebrate, no exceptions, is built from the very same 7 fundamental components.
So this is the toolkit, and it's absolutely crucial. Every vertebrate, I'm talking from a tiny fish all the way up to an elephant, is built from these same 7 parts. I mean, just think about it for a second. We all have a segmented vertebral column, our backbone, for support. We all have paired appendages that evolution then gets to play with, sculpting them into fins or legs or wings. It's literally like being given the exact same box of Legos, but using them to build wildly different things.
And check this out. This is a perfect illustration of how that toolkit gets modified. So for our crocodile, right, those paired appendages become these short, super powerful legs, perfect for an ambush. For the eagle, they get transformed into these incredible hollowed-boned wings for flight. And for the deer, they're long, slender limbs built for pure speed. It's the same parts, just remixed for completely different ways of living.
Which, of course, brings us to a really fascinating question. If every vertebrate gets the same box of parts, then what's the instruction manual? What tells those parts, okay, today we're building a fish versus, nope, this one's going to be a human? It's time to uncover the second clue. So, the answer isn't in the parts themselves. It's hidden deep, deep inside our DNA. We're talking about a very special family of genes that are, for all intents and purposes, evolution's master architects. They're called Hox genes, and the best way to think of them is like the project managers for building a body. They don't actually make the bricks or the steel, the proteins and cells, but they are the ones telling the construction crew exactly where and when to build everything. And here's the part that is just absolutely mind-bending. The same core set of Hox genes orchestrates the development of pretty much all animals. We're talking from a tiny fruit fly all the way up to a giant blue whale. I find it helpful to imagine it like an orchestra playing from a single ancient piece of music. You've got the anterior Hox genes, they're conducting the formation of the head. Then the central Hox genes come in and lay out the trunk, telling the body where to put the ribs and the limbs. And finally, the posterior Hox genes shape the tail end. The amazing diversity we see doesn't come from writing totally new music. No way. It comes from evolution acting as the conductor, just tweaking when and for how long each section of the orchestra plays. A tiny change in that timing can be the difference between a long spine and a short one, or between growing legs versus growing fins. Okay, so let's recap for a second. We've got the parts, the universal toolkit, and we've got the architects, the Hox genes. The final clue, the last piece of the puzzle, comes from 2 universal constraints that absolutely no living thing can escape: the laws of physics and the undeniable mark of a shared history.
And here's the thing. You just can't argue with math, not even in biology. The laws of physics, especially the rules of scaling, basically dictate what shapes and what sizes are even possible for a living thing to be.
Okay, so here's rule number 1, and it's non-negotiable. As an animal gets bigger, its surface area, basically its skin, increases by the square of its length. Now, you might be thinking, so what? Why does that matter? Well, your skin is like your body's radiator. It's how you get rid of heat and exchange it with the world around you.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. An animal's volume, and therefore its mass, its weight, increases by the cube of its length. And this creates a massive engineering problem. It means an animal's weight grows much, much faster than the strength of its bones can support it, or its ability to cool itself down through its skin.
So, you've got this huge engineering challenge, right? But what's the reward if you can solve it? What's the payoff for getting big? Well, just look at this chart. It's all about efficiency. A tiny little gecko burns a whopping 150 watts of energy per kilogram just to stay alive. But our massive crocodile? It's incredibly fuel efficient, using less than 1 watt per kilogram. And that right there is why a tiny shrew has to eat constantly, all day long, while a crocodile can go for weeks without a meal. Size literally dictates your entire life strategy.
Okay, the other big rule is history. You have to remember, evolution isn't some brilliant inventor starting from scratch with a blank page. It's more like a tinkerer, working in a messy garage, just modifying what's already there. And we can trace this history by looking for the telltale signs of that shared ancestry.
And here's a really cool way to tell the difference. On one hand, you have homologous structures. Think of a bird's wing and a human's arm. They look different, they do different things, but they share the same underlying bone structure. Why? Because they came from a common ancestor, their family. Then you have analogous structures, like a bird's wing and an insect's wing. They both do the same job, flying, but they evolved completely independently. They're not related at all. Think of them as colleagues who just happen to work in the same industry.
Okay, so there we have it. Our 3 big clues are on the table. The universal toolkit, the genetic architects, and those unbending rules of physics and history. It's time to bring it all together and finally solve this mystery.
So let's get back to Brashamida's question. How can a crocodile and an eagle be so different? Well, it's because while they both start with the exact same 7 components and the same Hox gene architects, they've been sculpted by millions of years of completely different pressures. The eagle's entire design was shaped by the brutal physics of flight and the absolute need to be lightweight. The crocodile's design, on the other hand, was shaped by the physics of being a huge, powerful aquatic ambush predator. Same starting point, 2 wildly different destinations.
And you know what? Cracking this code isn't just some academic exercise. This stuff is the foundation for some absolutely incredible innovation. We're studying shark skin to create low-drag surfaces for ships and swimsuits. We're copying the design of bird wings to make our aircraft way more fuel efficient. And we're studying how salamanders can regrow their limbs, a process driven by this ancient toolkit, to push the absolute boundaries of regenerative medicine.
And get this knowledge literally saves species. Let's circle all the way back to Bieterkanika for a second. By understanding the crocodile's unique anatomy and all its needs, its territory, its jaw mechanics, its entire sensory world, conservationists were able to bring that population back from a desperate 96 individuals in the 1970s to over 1,700 of them today. That's a huge success story.
So by understanding these core principles, the shared toolkit, the genetic architects, and the physical rules, you now hold the master key. Seriously, you're not just looking at animals anymore. Now, you can actually read the logic hidden right inside them. You've basically become a pattern hunter.
So, the next time you see a bird in the sky, or a fish in the water, or hey, even when you look at your own reflection in the mirror, I want you to remember this ancient code that connects every single one of us. Because now that you know the rules of the game, what other hidden patterns are you going to see hiding in plain sight?